Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host, Dennis Simpson, as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, the award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007 or find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com. She is Clara Nicolosi, and she is my invitee, Clara, because as you and I communicated before we hit the record button, other than real estate, the second biggest category of inquiries that we get at hsvinsideout.com is shopping. There are people that haven't even been in Arkansas that are thinking about the village as a potential place to be their next landing place. And many people just don't have a concept of what shopping inside the village is like. You know, we get an email and somebody is asking, do I have to go to Little Rock to buy groceries? So it's that kind of stuff. So these are some of the myths that we want to dispel today. And I appreciate you doing this, but I couldn't think of anybody better to kind of address all of this, since you deal with so many people that are moving in, moving around, and moving even outside the village.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy. I'm so glad to be here today. Well, it's kind of interesting, you know, living in the Gates myself, I experience this on a daily basis. Where do I go? What do I do? Where can I get what I need to accomplish, whether it's a dinner party or just regular weekly groceries or any of those types of needs. And we are so fortunate right here. Our main road is 15 miles long from gate to gate. So that's really not that far of a drive. And at bookends on both ends of our community, we have all kinds of services available. And when you're talking about shopping, what first comes to mind is groceries. On the west end, which would have been the original development of our community out on Highway 7, we actually have two full-service grocery stores, one of them being a full-service Walmart with all the needs. I mean, you can get car batteries and groceries and clothing and toiletries and housewares and just about anything you need. We actually have nicknamed that location the mall. It's not really the mall, but if you want to go, that's the mall. And then we also are so fortunate to have Brookshire's full service grocery store also at that west end. Brookshire's is a small chain based out of Texas who has a few other locations in Texas and in Arkansas. So a smaller mom and pop store with full service. We've got full deli, we've got full bakery, we've got just about all the typical grocery needs met there. As well as we've got other small shops. We're talking groceries. We still have on that west end, we've got Walgreens and a few convenience stores, along with Dollar General. Dollar General's doing a great job now. The larger stores now all have produce. You can get milk and bread and eggs and those types of things. So that we've well covered on that west end of our community. But if we go east, we've got actually a new, just open, I don't think it's 2 weeks old. We now have newly opened a combo. I've never even seen it before. I don't know if you have in your area, Randy, but we've got a combo Family Dollar Tree. It has a little bit of everything, as well as we've got a Dollar General who has been our go-to for many years, also carrying that full line of produce, also carrying the eggs, the milk, the cheese, the bacon, the things that you might need. And we've got a convenience store, or I say convenience gas station outside the East Gate that has a wide variety. But moving into the village, as far as groceries proper, I probably would say the only other place would be the Balboa Marina. if you needed to get some ice or a loaf of bread or just those basics that you just didn't want to drive 10 miles to go get, you could get those from the Balboa Marina as long as during its open hours. So that would cover your shopping needs. You could get just about all your basics covered surrounding our community.
Now, if I'm one of those club people, Sam's Club or Costco, and I'm addicted to those, how far away am I going to have to go?
Good question. We have a Sam's Club in Hot Springs proper. So I would say driving distance from the west gate of the village, probably a solid 15, 17 miles from the west gate of our village. Easy to get to. It's off the Martin Luther King bypass, busy area that offers many other services, Dick's Sporting Goods, Michael's, Bed Bath & Beyond, just a large service area. But when you talk Costco, we are headed back in the other direction towards Little Rock. We are so lucky. We've got Little Rock at our back door, at least what I call our back door. Less than an hour's drive from our east gate. You're in Little Rock. You're in, a 200,000 plus area or community that's offering anything and everything. So you can get more Sam's Club, more Costco, those types of things back in the Little Rock direction.
People also inquire about medications. And obviously with a big chunk of the population being older folks, and people are concerned about, well, what are my pharmacy options or anything to do with health care, or should I need medical supplies like oxygen and those types of things?
Well, we're well covered with that. Let's start medical services. We have medical services both inside and outside of our community, meaning regular routine healthcare. We've got LifeNet covering our emergency healthcare needs inside our community. But when we talk about regular services, you can see a general practitioner, you could see some specialists by appointment and those types of things inside our gates. And then you can get outside both our east and our west gates and continue to see those general practitioners, that orthopedic, have x-ray services, diagnostic type services done. And newer to our west gate, we actually have a surgical center now. So we've got a surgical center doing some of those types of services. And we've got dental services both inside and outside of our gates. And then, so let's go from the medical side of the house to fulfilling those prescriptions, both our east and our west gate. We've got Health Mart location 1 and 2. We've got Walgreens. We've got Walmart. We're well covered with great local pharmacists really doing a good job in providing that service, as well as oxygen services, medical equipment services, and all those types of needs. And we actually have the Village Loan Closet here in our community that will actually lend you crutches or a wheelchair or a raised potty or those types of medical services for free for a limited amount of time. You didn't want to have to go out and buy the wheelchair, but you're going to need it for a recovery period. You're going to need that walker for a couple of weeks after you had whatever fixed or repaired or replaced. You can actually borrow some of that equipment for that. But for the equipment that needs to be purchased, Health Mart actually has a full service facility outside the West Gate offering oxygen and transportation options and bedding options and all of that, all right here.
One of the funniest exchanges I had with somebody, they inquired about a dry cleaners. And I'm like, well, if you move to Hot Springs Village, I don't know that you're going to need a dry cleaner. You might not. Well, you might dress up. I mean, what do I know? But anyway, it's just funny what people are thinking about when they're thinking about accessibility, because it's very clear to both me and Dennis that some rather large segment of our audience who have never been to the area, who've never been to the village, but have high interest in coming to visit, certainly with the prospect, many of them, of moving there and making it home, have got these questions that, I mean, they're reasonable, though. It's completely reasonable to wonder about these kinds of things as these people are considering uprooting from wherever they are, to come there. you've answered the question because it's one of the ones that we get, the basic staples that, that might be required and how far would I have to go. You've pretty much answered the question. You really don't. And those places that she described, the Walmart and the Brookshires and out the east and west, she's talking, folks, just outside the gates. I mean, we're not talking you leave the gates and now you're driving for 30 minutes. You're just driving minutes. You're just minutes. Well, Brookshires is just right across the street from the West Gate. So gas stations, I need to get gas. Am I going to have to drive 30 minutes to get gas, Clara?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, inside our gates that we actually have two different gas stations, one at that Balboa Marina near Lake Balboa, more on our east end. And then over what I call the four-way stop on Colella is the Shell station, Village Shell. And then once you get outside, like you said, just outside both of our gates, you have options. There's literally a Shell station that also offers some food services and some cooked food services outside the east gate. And then you get outside the west gate and you have the Walmart gas, the Shell gas, what used to be the Valero gas, which is now the Mobil gas. I mean, you have options depending on where you want to go. That doesn't mean folks don't drive all the way into Hot Springs and get in the line at Sam's Club for the Sam's Club gas, but you've got plenty of choices here.
Okay, we've got to talk about dining. We can't really talk about shopping without talking about dining options. And I don't know, Dennis and I have this conversation off the air pretty regularly. Like, how many restaurants do people think they need? I mean, there's some really terrific places inside the village. And of course, people can take a trip. Many people do. They make the excursion into Hot Springs. They make the excursion into Little Rock. I mean, these are not necessarily weekly occurrences for people, but you and I both know a lot of people that make excursions into both of those bigger towns with some regularity. Maybe they've got some favorite eating or drinking place that they want to go. But inside the village, let's start there and kind of move our way outside and take it wherever you want to, whether it's the different types of cuisine or whatever.
Absolutely. Well, we are so blessed with all the golf courses here in our community. So we'll start there. So each one of our golf courses also has a restaurant or some form of an eatery attached, whether it's a sandwich shop or a Sunday brunch or even Italian fare. Every one of you just need to check into the schedules of the different golf courses. Each one of them offers something. It's just a matter of what you're interested in. And on top of that, I mentioned the Balboa Marina is doing a great lunch takeout. We've got a beautiful Italian restaurant centrally located in our community. We've got a Mexican restaurant closer to the west end of our community, and that's just inside our gates. We can keep you plenty fed inside our gates, but get outside our gates. At the east end, we've got Tanner's and Subway and several restaurants right there outside the east gate. And then going west, the limitless options, whether you want Subway or you want to go to Home Plate Cafe or you're looking for good barbecue or pizza. Domino's Pizza's out at that end. Everyone's favorite McDonald's. Whatever fare you're looking for. Yes, Sonic, Village Hibachi, Great Wall China. I mean, we have something that will appeal to just about everybody. I would just encourage folks to check out schedules. You might be able to get a longer schedule from McDonald's or Domino's Pizza than you might at one of the golf course restaurants that was only open for lunch. So I would just check schedules before you went in that direction, but plenty of options inside our gates and surrounding our community.
Okay, well, speaking of that, and this is kind of sort of related, do the sidewalks, not that there are any, but if there were sidewalks, would they roll up at 8 o'clock when it comes to that kind, especially when it comes to finding food?
Yes and no. I would say that many of our restaurants have picked schedules around the times that they have been busy. So if they consistently have business that dies off by 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, chances are that restaurant has elected to use those times to close. Where other restaurants may stay open longer because they just have a different crowd that's visiting, and so they're staying open a little bit later. So there are many areas in our community that when the sun goes down, it seems like, that the time is coming for them to close for the evening. But there are many others that are open till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And that's where I would check those schedules to see who is available later at night. We have a lot of early diners too.
Yeah.
Lot of early diners. And that's actually becoming, if you've ever looked into intermittent fasting and those types of things, you're only supposed to eat in a small window. So I could see where that's very popular.
Yeah, me too. All right. So we don't like to get out a whole lot. What are the options as far as having food delivery? Does it even exist inside the village?
Well, there are some services that are delivering. We actually have Meals on Wheels right here in our community for those who need that extra helping hand. And then we still have the Hello Fresh and all the online delivery services where you can cook it all at home and to your own specifications. Many of those are delivering. Matter of fact, I was talking to someone. I had actually ordered the fruits and vegetables that didn't look as pretty as the other ones. I was getting that routinely. So all of those types of services. And when you talk about ordering in or delivery, the UPS and FedEx trucks are running all the time. I mean, I think, Amazon's doing a great job. Whole Foods is doing a great job. Any of the online services that, you can actually order from Target and Walmart and get all of those types of foods and supplies at home as well, or from that online presence. So yes.
Well, again, I think there's a misconception. Well, I know there is a misconception with a number of people. They're attracted to what they perceive is the peace and the tranquility and the seclusion, but they mistake it for being, my words, more rural than it is. I tell people it's not like living in the country to me. And I've lived in the country when I was a kid. It's like living in a national park is what it's like. It's like living in a park where there is shopping. There are services. You're not isolated. Seclusion, all the positive things about seclusion apply to the place, to Hot Springs Village, but you're not remote. And I think, a lot of people in our audience, as I said, who haven't visited yet, and many of them hope to, we keep feeding people over to Cindy. Cindy Strait operates short-term rental business for RE/MAX. And so if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're interested, I'll put links in the show notes, and you're looking for a place to come camp out for a period of time and check the place out, please do. It's just one of those things, Clara, it's just really hard to describe. And I get it as a person who's way newer to the village than you or Dennis, having come for the first time in 2018. It probably took me 3 visits, and I'm talking staying a week at a time, before I really could get my head wrapped around what is this place. You deal with people that are moving in all the time. I mean, what's your perspective on all that, of people just trying to get a really accurate, and I get that it's different for all of us. We're looking for different things. Like my wife and I, we are not looking for any kind of a nightlife. If we were looking for nightlife, well, I can't imagine it because it's just not how we're wired. But everybody may be looking for something slightly different. But it seems to me that we've all got in common this love for what you feel the minute you come inside the gate. There's just this big exhale, there's just this big sigh of relief. How do you tell people, how do you describe the village to these people that have never been, but they're booking a trip or they're planning to come and visit? What's your sales pitch?
Well, my sales pitch is we are so blessed to live in North America's largest gated community, which is situated in the foothills of the Ouachita Mountains. Breathtaking, peaceful area with plenty of services locally and close enough to some other major hubs like Hot Springs, Benton Bryan, and Little Rock to accomplish anything that you might want to do. Come check us out. Actually, my new saying right now is live and play here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Typical visitor, in your experience, they come and they stay how long?
I think the first person comes for probably 2 nights, 3 days. If you know nothing about our community, you booked 2 nights and you came to stay. Maybe you intended to play golf, or you were going to go to Oak Lawn, or had something else local to do. That's your first timer.
And that's not nearly long enough. I'll just be the first to tell you that is not going to be long enough. You're going to, the minute you look at your clock and realize that you've got to leave, you're going to think we need to stay here longer. It just takes some time to just get your head wrapped around the vastness of the place, the beauty of the place, the magnitude of the place, and the realization that, you're not remote. There's all these services, there's all these products that are available to you. And if you can possibly imagine something that's not, it's half an hour to an hour most away. And for those of us in the big city, I mean, come on. If I get in my car and I head anywhere in DFW, it's 45 minutes one way. I don't care where you're going. It just is going to be, So there is that. I realize not everybody lives in a metropolitan area as large as ours. Okay, what haven't we addressed that you think might be critical for people that are specifically interested in these kinds of things, and what Hot Springs Village and the surrounding area offers?
I think the only thing we haven't talked about is home services, because we got those folks coming in for 2 nights, 3 days, and while they were here, they said, you know what, we're coming back. And they booked their next day, and then they fell in love with our community, and they made a decision to purchase or rent, and they're going, okay, I need to get something fixed or something repaired, or where do I get supplies? And so to those folks, I would say we are so lucky. We actually have the Village Home Center outside our west gate. Literally, you go out the gate, you turn right, and you can't miss the driveway to take you down there. And Jeff Harrington and his folks are doing a fantastic job. Full service lumberyard, full service, all of those types of needs locally. And if he can't meet those, then you've got the ability to travel, 30 minutes down the road and get to your Home Depot and your Lowe's, if need be. Walmart has some of those items that you might need for services, as well as we have every home vendor known to man, either inside our gates or just outside our gates, whether you need the handyman, the yard guy, heat and air service, pest control, builders, you name it. Those services, the folks live here in our community. They have businesses inside our gate. They have businesses outside our gate. We have just about everything, including floor stores. We've got the floor store and O'Brien's Floor and Southern Floors right outside our west gate. We've got remodeling companies that if you want to redo your bathroom, we've got interior designers. Oh, we've got spa services, all the hairdressers and the nail salons, and soup to nuts. We're going to take care of you right here in Hot Springs Village.
And car detailing.
Car detail.
You can keep your car detailed. Yeah.
Yeah. And auto service places, tire services, full service automobile,
golf cart services.
Golf cart. Yeah.
Marine services.
We are, we are not a city defined by a city, but we are well defined in the community that we are. Our 50 plus years, we've managed to develop all the needs and services that we possibly would need in or outside our gates.
All right, we're recording this on Friday the 13th, and no, neither of us are what's the word I'm looking for, Clara? There you go. Superstitious. Yeah. Neither one of us are superstitious. But let's go ahead and tease out. So at some point before the month is over, we're going to get a real estate update from you. So don't give away everything. But if you want to tease what might be coming up in the next few weeks as you give us, your regular real estate update, anything you want to tease?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about real estate real quick. We are having a fantastic year, and that was all the predictions from 2021 said that would be the case. Locally, we're seeing inventory down just a little bit, and price points are holding well. I'm real happy with interest rates. They're doing nicely, and our lot sales still very fertile this year. So happy with where things are going. The first couple of months are just indicators for how the year we'll move on. We had a very wet winter, early spring, cold. It's beautiful outside. And I think the real estate market's going to continue to be beautiful, just like our weather.
Well, good. I appreciate you doing this. I know the audience will appreciate it as well. Shopping inside and outside Hot Springs Village, it may not be what you thought it was. It's probably vastly better, based on the kind of questions that we get. So I appreciate you doing this, Clara. Thank you.
Glad to be here. The one thing I'd add is come check out our shopping.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.